to move forward. And so all those things were going in my head, but people were looking at me like, okay, this guy is super skeptical. He's a lawyer. He's not going to do these kind of things. And it wasn't that I wasn't going to do the things. I just couldn't do it then. And so I want to give you that as a backdrop of understanding that everybody you speak to is, you know, they're breathing oxygen, exhaling carbon monoxide. They're, you know, they wake up, they sleep, they poop, they do everything that you do. There's no difference. I don't care if they're doctor, lawyer, bus driver, barber, whatever. And so there's some needs. And so one of the things that I understand and that I've come to understand is that we are simply a bridge between their need and what this opportunity can provide. And this opportunity, and I'm not one of the people that get super excited. I'm not a super excited electricity person. I mean, the only time I jump for joy or jump for something with electricity is if I wet my finger and stick it in a socket. You'll catch me jumping then. But what I came to appreciate is that this is a cash flow vehicle that's happening anyway. The thing I love about it, and I mentioned this before we get to the invite, because your comfort in yourself and your comfort in the opportunity will give you comfort in making the invitation. And so, like right now, I have my TV off. My TV is not on, and I love baseball. And I love the World Series. Like October is my favorite month of all time. There's football, there's hockey, there's basketball, and there's World Series baseball happening now. Well, my TV is off. But believe it or not, they're still broadcasting the World Series. There's a satellite up in the sky that's taking the feed from the TV camera, and it's going up there and is sending out the broadcast of the game to all the cable outlets out, period. And so my TV is off, but that current is coming anyway. And sometimes, let's say I have my TV on, but I had it on a different channel, the baseball game is coming anyway. Let's say I had it on the channel, but I didn't pay my cable bill, the baseball is coming anyway. So what I want you to understand is that the reason why you should take comfort in this opportunity, the reason why you should take comfort in what we have to offer is that we're connecting ourselves to a bill, to a set of anyway money. Whether they switch to Ambit, whether they go to Zoom or Constellation or anybody or do nothing, they're going to use electricity. They're going to use natural gas. They're going to pay for it anyway. So what you can take comfort is that you're not trying, like with most products, if you don't sell it, it ain't going to get used. It just ain't going to get used. But whether you do anything with this or not, it's happening anyway. And because it's an anyway source of money, you're like, this is going to be trillions of dollars no matter how successful, whether I keep my hands on, whether I sit on my butt and do nothing, or whether I go out and tell the world, there's going to be trillions of dollars spent over the next few years anyway. And so that should give you comfort that you're not trying to, it's not a concept that you have to sell. It's not a concept that you have to be able to communicate well. It's happening anyway. And so that gives you like, okay, so that lets me take comfort in this industry. It's pretty solid. It's been around for over a century. As long as I've been alive, we've been using electricity, been using natural gas. And so that's the first thing you can kind of put aside. And then you can kind of look in, and for me, what got me started in this company versus the other opportunity was the industry, B, the earnings track record. But I grew up in Dallas, Texas. My high school was a block and a half away from the headquarters of the Southland Corporation. I received a scholarship and took a big tour of the EDS factory. EDS is an electronic data system, big, huge billion-dollar company that was run by a guy named H. Ross Perot. I'm a big Dallas Cowboys fan, and my uncle played for the Dallas Texans, which people know as the Kansas City Chiefs. So I know that some of the original owners of this company are affiliated with the Southland Corporation. They're affiliated with EDS. They're affiliated with the Kansas City Chiefs. And so I know all these top, great business people started. So I took a lot of comfort in that. And so when I come to speak to people, I have comfort in knowing that what I'm introducing them to is tied to $1 trillion worth of funds flowing, yearly anyway. It's tied to a company and a set of people who have had success, unparalleled success, in so many areas, whether we do anything, whether I do anything or not. So I can take comfort in that part of it. And then where I take comfort now is when I look through the Success from Home magazine, I look at all the people's lives who've changed, because you may not have your own story now. And I know that's the rub for a lot of new people. They don't have their own story of success. They don't have their own story of life change. They don't have their own story of transformation. And so they're still a bit apprehensive. And so you can borrow somebody's. You can, we all know a Kim and Jim story. And if you go to a training long enough, you'll hear the story about Jim and the shoes. Jim was, busting his butt, working hard, and he was so frustrated that he couldn't be the man that he wanted to be. And one day he came and he saw his wife's shoes out there, and he just felt like frustrated. Here I am working so hard, and she's got all these shoes. And so he lined up all the shoes in her house like a trail from the door to the bedroom. He made a little shoe parade. You ever been that frustrated that you couldn't be what you wanted to be, who you planned on being? And so you take that story, you go out and you take a T and Bowie story, spend 6 years in college to be a Spanish teacher, and you're working at this really high-end high school where the kids are driving nicer cars than you, and the kids got nicer clothes than you, and you're so broke because you got to buy your own supplies, and then you have to work, and your hours are so long that you can't really get a good part-time job. And so you're like, I'll go work for 7-Eleven. I figure I can work there from 7 p.m. to 11, and you see how his life has changed. And so you borrow these stories, and you realize, what? There's something, I know this is working. The company's made over $1 billion for the last 5 years. So the company's working, the industry's working, it's working for some people. And so if you come with the premise that this thing works, it'll help you immensely. And then the last thing, and then I'll get into some particulars about the invitation. The last thing, that if you can just chew on this one thing, then the zeal and the appetite you have for inviting will grow astronomically. You're not doing something to people. You're doing something for people. You're not doing something to people. You're doing something for people. See, I think about Kirk Horan, who, he wanted desperately to be a fireman, but let's just face it, the guy's clumsy. I mean, he breaks his back, he breaks his arm, he falls off roofs, he's driving a snowblower, runs into a tree. I mean, this guy, he's a nice guy, but man, he's not that coordinated. And with the cost of medical things, and with being a fireman and having to go through all those different things, I don't know what his life would have been like had he not found this opportunity. And so I know that we're doing something for people. We're either helping somebody save money on the bill they hate to pay, but have to pay. See, there are a lot of bills that I hate to pay, a lot of things that I hate to do, but there are only a handful that I have to do. See, I love when, you ever hear somebody get an expensive electric bill or gas bill, and they'll cuss and swear, and then they'll pay it? You'll let the cable go off, but you won't let the electricity go off. I don't care how high it is. Like you'll switch from Verizon to Xfinity you'll play the game, but and you might try to cut the cords, but I don't know anybody cutting the electricity cord. And so to be able to help somebody, even in a very small way on a bill they have to pay, you're helping somebody. If somebody wants to do a little bit of extra work and get it for free, you're helping somebody. If you're introducing someone to a vehicle, whether they get on the vehicle or whether they drive the vehicle or whether they take the vehicle to its ultimate, really to its ultimate boundaries, you're helping someone. And so if you can get inside your own head and stop thinking that you're doing something to someone, but rather something for someone, the invitation gets real light. See, it's heavy when you think you're putting something on somebody. See, I and people say, well, I think about a Mike Obey. Mike Obey, when he met this business 10 years ago, he was working 110 hours a week. He had 2 kids, Kayla and Joey. Kayla and Joey, but he's working 110 hours a week. He had 3 Carvel ice creams. He had about 23 properties. He had a construction company, and he had an insurance company. 110 hours, a wife, 2 kids. You know they weren't doing well. And the fact that you were able to show him a vehicle that helped him get down to 2 stores, sell all the property, sell those things, and have the same lifestyle, but have, only working 20 to 30 hours a week, you did something for him. And so once you understand that this is something that you can do for people, then the how in the invitation is easy. It's easy. I mean, we think about, Paul Revere running through the town saying the British are coming. He wasn't sure he was waking people up. Sure, he was causing a lot of ruckus, but he was doing something for people. And maybe he could have delivered it, differently. Maybe his diction was off. I don't know what he said, but we just know the British are coming. And he could have said it more eloquently, but he was doing something for people. And so, that being said, there's only a handful of things that we do in this business. We'll make a list. We'll sometimes qualify the list. We'll invite the list. We'll press play for the list, and we'll do a 3-way for the list. And I think that the pinnacle of that is the invitation. Everything is leading up to the invitation and is a result of the invitation. So everything is leading toward the invitation. I think Brian McClure and even Steve Thompson talks about this 2 things that you have to do to get successful in this business. Become a master inviter and never quit. And what Brian says, to make massive wealth, you want to matriculate through the compensation plan as quickly as possible and never quit. And the way that you matriculate through the compensation plan as quickly as possible is becoming a master inviter. The way you become a master inviter, I believe, is 3-fold. 1, it's a function of how often you invite. It's a function of how you invite, and it's a function of who you invite. And the key parameter in all 3 of those is you. And so one of the things that I always tell people, as you become a master inviter, first thing you want to do is improve you. Like, are you, because we all think about, we qualify the list. We want to have some 5-star prospects. We love to have some people who are business minded, money motivated, some people that have a large circle of influence. And there's some dynamic people in this business, but you got to ask yourself, am I attractive to those kind of people? I mean, would you want to have you on your team? If you say, I want to have all these superstars, these top coaches and these pastors and these business people and these entrepreneurs, you got to think yourself, would I want to be on my team? And so John Maxwell laid out a little a daily rule of 5 for us back in 2014. He says, every day I add to my list, every day I invite my list, every day I learn, every day I give thanks, and every day I encourage. And so one of the things that the aspect is you want to make sure that you keep locking yourself into personal development. You're developing yourself inside out. As you read more, learn more, do more. Like I love the personal development that Jim Mason talks about all the time. I like that book by Les Giblins on becoming a better salesperson. And so one of the things that you do is, as you improve yourself inside, you'll start to discover that you actually want to look a little better. So you always want to look, you carry, like, I tend to carry myself. I don't have sloppy days, because I might just meet that prospect who might find me, who's looking for somebody that they have take a little bit of trust in. And so I want to always keep myself in a fairly presentable way. And I'm always working on personal development. So I'm the aspect there. Now, the last three components, and I'll speak to those briefly, is the who you're inviting. You want to get yourself into a habit of inviting up. See, we generally, most times, because we're so scared, because we don't believe in the opportunity, we don't believe in the company, we don't believe in ourselves, we tend to look to, well, who's broke? Who really needs this? Well, life is choice driven. And most of the time, short of a catastrophic short-term situation, most people are in a place where they've made choices to be. If you find a 400-pound person, it's not because he had one supersized meal yesterday. He probably had a lot of supersized meals over a lot of yesterdays. And so one of the things I always tell people is learn how to recruit up, and just, be that whole chicken list concept. If you want to have a multi-million-dollar team, you've got to put foundational blocks out there. My good buddy Tony Procopio likes to draw the board of directors table. He says, if you got and Lane Winston lays out this vision. You're right at the top floor of Trump Towers. You're at Central Park, Central Park South, right there, 58th and on the west side, and you can overlook your office. Your office is overlooking Central Park, and then to the south you see the skyscrapers. You got this big 60-foot mahogany table, and you got to put together your board of directors, and you draw these little circles. Who do you want on your board of directors from people that you know? Who do you want? So you want to start thinking about who I'm inviting. I want to invite up. And then you want to invite a lot. So the who is whatever you can do in terms of qualifying your list, go to the best people first. See, because Marc is out there driving around, calling people. He's going to get to the good people on your list, because you got to realize that your list there's no patent on list. You make a list of 200 people some of those people are going to overlap with people that your friend knows, your neighbor knows, people that you don't even know knows. And if you're going to lose somebody, you don't want to lose your best people first. So from a strategic standpoint, you want to invite up, because those people will accelerate your business more. And then secondly, one of the things I tell you that with an invitation, and I'll leave with this three parts, that the how you invite is understanding that one size doesn't fit all. One size doesn't fit all. And when I do an invitation, I use kind of a bucket approach. I got this from a guy named Tim Sales. The first is three buckets I go through in inviting. One is the greeting, and that's where I'm engaging someone. Let's say I'm a prospect. I want to be able to get beneath the surface. Now, if it's a warm market, then you're already beneath the surface. You're great. You can get right to. You understand what's important to them. And getting beneath the surface, if you would go up to someone and say, hey, are you looking to have some more money in your life? And they say, no. How about more time? No. Well, that's not true. They just haven't given you permission to go deeper. So the greeting is, you want to, and I like to use the form, the family, occupation, recreation, money, or method to see if I can push the button to get beneath the surface. I see a person with teenage kids. I want to kind of lean towards college, because that's something they're thinking about. I see someone with young kids, somebody that's at age 55, I'll talk about retirement. I want to see if I can do something to have them open up to me. And so once I've gotten the greeting, then I have permission to go to the next step, which is what I call the qualification. I need to, and remember I told you, everybody has something they want, don't want, or need in their life. Maybe it's too much time. Maybe it's not enough time. Maybe it's not something they're passionate about. You got to find what Ray Monty calls their pop, their point of pain, their point of passion, their point of poverty. You've got to find out what's missing, what they're excited about. And once you've gotten that pop, and you'll hear it as you do this, as you practice this, you'll hear it. And the more you do it, the quicker you'll hear it. Then I go to the invitation. And the invitation is, just know this, is not to join your business, is not to be your customer. It's simply to get 10 minutes on their calendar to look at some information. To look at some information that might be able to help them with that pop. And so there's 3 kinds of invitations that I use. I use a direct, an indirect, and a super indirect. The direct is, I just heard something from you that identifies something that's missing in your life, and I'd like you to look at something that could help you. That's a direct invitation. The second one is the indirect invitation. Hey, look, I'm doing some expanding in this area. And in fact, the indirect direction, let me just back up. The indirect invitation is like, I just got a new business, and you're one of the smartest businessmen I know. And I'd love to run this by you so you could give me some advice on how it could help me. So the direct invitation is how it can help them. The indirect invitation is how it can help you. And the super indirect invitation is, there's somebody in the future. Can you take a look at this and see if this makes sense for somebody you know? Like one of the ones I used very recently, coming after Ambition, when they gave us that, $400 for getting 8 customers, I sent out a text message to a few people, say, hey, look, do you know anybody who could use $400 for a couple of hours work? And you'd be surprised, like nearly everybody responded, and about 75% responded saying, hey, I think I might be interested. I say, great. Let me know when you'll have 10 minutes to take a look at some information. I want to get your feedback on it. And then right when I set the appointment, and then after I set the appointment, right before the appointment, I send them my link to my EGR, which can track it, and then I'd have it set up to watch, and then I'd call them at that time. But that was an example of the super indirect. So anyway, the key again to becoming a master inviter is how often you invite, how you invite, and who you invite. And the key to that is really improving your belief and your stance and who you are. And personal development and look good, feel good, like Zig Ziglar used to say, is got to be the key to that. I hope this was helpful. I got to hop on my call, but I'll turn it back over to Marc.
Man, that was fantastic, Mario. I appreciate your time. And everybody's waving at you. Is this your first Zoom meeting?
I think it's my first Zoom. I've used sites like this, but this is pretty neat. I don't know how many folks are on there, but this is pretty good.
Yeah, we got about a dozen, but it's starting to grow.
All right, my buddy. I'll talk to you soon, brother.
All right, sounds good.
Take care now.
All right. So that was Mario Price. So if those of you who are on here tonight, you can call everybody that wasn't on here tonight and ask them why. It's always a good place to start. So if you're new on here, I'm Marc Alfano, Executive Consultant. And if you're on this Zoom, then you're probably on our team. And what we're going to do is every Wednesday night, we're going to try to either bring on a guest, or we're going to bring some value to you as a Ambit consultant. And so Mario is a really great friend of Christina and mine. And he was on a cover of the magazine with Christina a couple years ago. And we spent a lot of time with him down in Texas. And I got to see him speak all over the country, as we travel with Ambit. And like I said, I think he brought it for us tonight. So a couple things I just want to highlight that he went over is that whenever you're inviting people, we're not inviting people to actually do the business. A lot of times new people get that confused. They think that our objective is to get a new consultant or a new customer. In reality, it's not. Another mistake that a lot of people make is they try to make 2 separate lists. They have their customer list and their consultant list, and that's something that we don't do. All you're doing is you're inviting people to look at this video. That's it. Or get them in front of the business presentation. I've had people say, well, I take somebody to a business presentation, I didn't like it. Then don't take them there anymore. Take them to the meeting that you do like. If you don't like your personal meeting, don't take them. If you don't like the way we're presenting it, don't use it. But figure out what works for you. I personally like our live meetings, but I also like to use the video. I've built almost my entire downline personally through the videos that Ambit provides. Now, there are other sites that we can be using. I know that there's people here who subscribe to them, like Energy Gold Rush and things like that, that are great tools. But I built my whole business off of the site that Ambit Energy provides. We pay $24.95 a month for that. and so why not use it? I don't think do anything outside of the Ambit box. I mean, there's a lot of people in Ambit who try to reinvent the wheel, and I personally did that for the first 2 to 3 months in Ambit, and most of you know my story, and we failed miserably because of that. I thought that, well, I don't need to use their system. It's doesn't make any sense for me to do it their way. I'm going to do it my way. And I failed miserably because of the fact that I thought outside of the Ambit box. And what's the beauty of this business is you don't have to do that. You don't have to think outside of the box. You don't have to reinvent the wheel. You don't have to do anything different. And the reason why I like bringing these other people on is, if you think about it, I'd say, 2 weeks ago now, we had Sherelle on. And Sherelle Slace basically said almost the exact same thing when it came to the invitation. She talked about form, getting to know the people, finding out what makes a person tick, meeting someone's need. And Mario just said the exact same thing. I've said the exact same thing at almost every Jumpstart training that I've ever been a part of. So nothing really changes. All right. So what we're trying to really drive home is the fact that, Ambit Energy has a system, the same as McDonald's has a system, or Burger King. And in my opinion, I think that McDonald's has a better system than Burger King. And maybe, and if you really dive into that, why is that the case? I mean, honestly, I do a lot of traveling. I know, like, I see John's up there, he's driving right now. And unfortunately, I have to go to fast food a lot. And I will go to McDonald's. And I remember down in West Virginia one time, there was a McDonald's right next door to a Burger King. And I went into McDonald's, and it was good. I mean, it was consistent. It was the McDonald's everybody knows. And then I went next door to Burger King a couple weeks later, and it was terrible. And, it was slow. My food. The fact is, I have a picture on my phone of, I think I deleted it, of a sandwich I got at a Burger King not too long ago, and it was completely burned. And how does that happen? Well, their system is a good system, but it's not as good as McDonald's or Wendy's system, all right, for whatever reason. And so there's other companies out there who do direct selling. There's other companies out there who do direct selling of energy, and their system isn't as superior as Ambit Energy. McDonald's is billions and billions served. Ambit Energy is the #1 direct seller of energy in the world. We're $1 billion energy company. And I like right there is behind Justin Steger. You see the #1 fast food chain in the country based on their sales in states. Now look at, you got Chick-fil-A. And Chick-fil-A, if you ever seen that map, that's perfect timing. I couldn't have asked for a better plug. But if you look at their map, Chick-fil-A, first of all, they're not open on Sunday. So they do in 6 days what far beyond what most of these restaurants are doing in 7. They got their system down pat. They got it right, and they follow the same system that I personally follow. It's God first, family second, and then business comes next. And they respect that. In fact, there was a story about a Chick-fil-A in New York, and it was one of the top grossing Chick-fil-A's. And I'm going off on a side note, but the franchise owner decided he wanted to open on a Sunday. He said, "I know better than Truett Cathy does, and I think we could make a lot more money if we stayed open on Sunday." And he was immediately stripped of his franchise. Why? Because they have a system that's built on integrity. And if you look at the Ambit system, it's the same exact thing. It's built on integrity. It's never sacrifice integrity for growth. Jerry Thompson will be the first person to tell you right now, never over-exaggerate. When you're out and you're working with people, it's not about, telling people, oh, I did this, or Ambit can do this, or it's going to change this or do that. You got to be honest with people. And so when I sit down with a new consultant, the first thing I tell them is I joined Ambit and I failed for the first 3 months. And this after they've seen the video. I also tell them that my goal was to make a car payment, and I did it 1 day a week. And at the end of that first year, we made $13,000. A lot of times that's a risk, because if I'm talking to a guy who makes millions of dollars and I say my first year I made $13,000, it might turn somebody off. But then when you put things into perspective, that it was 1 day a week, I failed for the first 3 months, and I really know what I was doing, and I still was able to far exceed my goal of a car payment. That's the truth, and that's what Ambit wants. So we build on a foundation of truth, character, integrity, same as Chick-fil-A does. And as a result, I believe that Chick-fil-A is going to surpass McDonald's numbers, and if they haven't already, in a lot of the states they have. And so that's the difference between our system and a lot of the systems you're going to see out there. And there are other energy companies. And the fact is, it's funny because I had a guy try to recruit me personally into another network marketing energy company. And whenever he did it, I looked up his numbers. And I said, well, your numbers don't make any sense because you think you're great. You know, you sell these different products, you do energy, and you're in multiple countries and states, but yet you're half of the business of Ambit Energy, who's only in 17 states, and we're strictly a gas and electric company. And so when you build your foundation on a rock of integrity, and you never over exaggerate, and you just really keep that in front of you, then even if the numbers don't look fantastic for you, you know, you could say, well, I've been in Ambit Energy for 6 months and I've only made $600. So what? You know, I mean, honestly, if people ask me all the time, how much money did you make your first month of Ambit? I didn't make anything. And then they ask me, when you started making money, you know, how much money did you make in the first month you made money in Ambit Energy? I said, I don't know. And they always say, well, what does that mean? You don't know. How do you not know? Don't you keep track of it? Don't you have a record? And I said, well, see, the thing is, I signed up this guy named Paul. And in that month, I think Paul made us maybe $100 or $200. But year to date, he's made me about $60,000, and it grows every month. So I still don't know. To be honest with you, that first month and that first person that I put in this business could make us a yellow jacket. They can make me. He can have made me $1 million in the near future. And so, you know, I don't over exaggerate. I tell the truth because the truth is more powerful than any exaggeration. Plus, you don't have to make up stuff all the time. You know, you have to remember, what did I tell this person? What did I tell that person? So keep it simple. Follow the system. Think inside of that Ambit box. Stand on integrity. Never over exaggerate. Never make things up. And then what happens is the story becomes extremely powerful. Because when you can say you're a 6-figure earner in Ambit Energy and you've won these awards and you've done these things and your life's changed forever, that's a powerful testimony that doesn't come overnight. It comes over years of work. So let me see here. What I want to do now is I'm going to see, does anybody here in the room have any questions that you want to elaborate on? So if you do, raise your hand. Any questions out there? I got Cheryl. I'm going to unmute Cheryl. Go ahead, Cheryl.
Mark, can you talk about a little bit about Canada since we're going to launch? I did listen to the call, the replay of the call today, and can you share with us anything you know?
Tell us what you know.
That there's going to be a new video.
Okay.
And I don't know. Well, I know we're going to launch on November 1st. There's not going to be a pre-launch. It's a direct launch. There's going to be some different things about the way it's done. All the billing and everything will be done through Ambit. I was listening while I was driving. Let's see. The compensation and everything will be essentially the same, except it'll be in Canadian dollars. What am I missing? Well, the new video, we have to be certified just like we did with Japan and the United States. So I'm just wondering, do we need to update our apps in order to see that? Is that out, or won't it be out till next week?
Yeah, so far nothing is out, or if it was, I'd know about it. And basically, the same information that you have is the same information that I have. You'd think we would know more than you, but unfortunately, we don't. What I do know is pretty much what you already said. So the video will be new. You will have to get yourself qualified to be a consultant in Canada by taking a Canadian quiz. The compensation plan is going to be the same as the Northeast. But the system will be more like Texas as far as how you gather a customer. So in Canada, we will take over the whole bill, which means you're going to need a social security number or whatever their equivalent of that is in order to get a customer. One thing about that is that, and if anybody's ever done business in Texas, that you can attest to this, is that even though you have to get a social security number, a bill goes energized a lot faster than a bill does in the Northeast because we're handling the bill. So once the bill comes into our name, into Ambit's name, it goes from pending. There's a little bit of a longer stretch from the time it goes from verification call complete until it goes into pending status. But once it goes into pending, it doesn't pen very long. It'll go energized pretty quick. And so I don't know anything about rates. I don't know what, any of that details yet. In fact, here in Pennsylvania, we have even bigger news, and that's our large commercial, and we don't know anything about it yet. And so that's just the way this thing's been rolling out. I mean, we knew a lot about Japan before it launched, and I think it's just because that's the way the Japanese government is. One thing I will tell you is I had a talk with Steve Thompson at Ambition, and basically what he was saying is for Canada, we're going to get the whole country. Okay, so this is just the tip of the iceberg. So if you know people in any part of Canada, now's the time to start putting those people on your list, because it's all coming. And honestly, I think if there's any areas we wouldn't get, it'd be really remote, places. But obviously the big ones, which we all know, like Ontario and Toronto and places like that, where, I mean, even I know people in those areas. They're going to come. So, is there anything else you want to know about that? Good, Cheryl?
No. Oh, they did talk. I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
No, go ahead.
Oh. They talked about also having people having to have credit checks and that kind of stuff too.
Yep, that's part of getting the Social Security number. And the reason why they do that is because we're taking over the bill. And so if you buy a new house here, or you move, you get an apartment in if I'm in Pittsburgh or you're in Columbus or whatever, or Cleveland, and you go out and you rent an apartment, the first thing they're going to do is they're going to get your Social Security number. They're going to sign you up with West Penn Power, whoever the incumbent is, and they're going to take a security deposit. And everybody does that. And so we are basically the incumbent in Texas, in Japan, and now in Canada. And so basically when that happens, we get the security deposit. So there will be a security deposit, credit checks, and things like that. But it's nothing to be scared of. You know what I mean? It's good stuff. And the thing is, it's just like we don't, it's funny because when I started in Ambit Energy in Pennsylvania, we had rates. Okay, we had a fixed rate, we had a 3-month, 6-month, and a 12-month rate. They did away with that. They did guaranteed savings, and people literally like flipped their rockers. They're like, "How can we do this? We need a rate. How can you do guaranteed? What does that mean?" They didn't understand it. And now when I go into Ohio, people go, "Boy, I wish we had guaranteed savings," right? And so it's funny because when you're not used to something, it seems like a pretty big stretch. But if you go down to Texas and say to people in Texas, well, hey, you need to get a Social Security number, it's not an issue for them. Credit checks aren't an issue for them because that's what they've come up with. So it's not going to be an issue for the Canadian people. And fact is, I know that I saw on I've been watching Facebook that there are already teams going into Canada, and they're already going to start to hit it hard. What I will tell you is it's no different than Japan. Don't go to Canada, all right, unless you have a reason to go to Canada. A lot of times what we'll see is I've been a part of a lot of market launches in Ambit, is people will run out. Okay, they all, like, for example, in Ohio, and you'll get people getting in their truck and they're taking buses, and they're coming in from New York and Texas and California, and they all descend on Ohio. And there's not a waitress or a bus boy or a bellhop or anybody who's safe. They basically attack, pretty hard. It's a full frontal assault on the city, and they come in with these big Ambit flags and banners. And then what happens is 3-4 months go by, and the real leaders are still there. And the same thing happened in Columbus. I mean, Christina and I watched it come, and we watched people come, and we watched people go, and then we dealt with the casualties of that attack or that assault. So basically, what happened was a couple months in, you'd be sitting in a meeting with 10 or 12 people who didn't know who their upline was, never met them, hadn't seen them, hadn't talked to them, has no support from them, and then we're left with all these orphans basically trying to piece things together, and over time they disappear. So if you don't have a contact in Canada, don't go to Canada, okay? Because there's no point in it unless you really know somebody. Now, obviously, you can reach out through social media, like Larry did with his Japanese contacts. You can try to cultivate that. And but I'll tell you right now, in fact, I'm going to unmute him. Larry Venzel, you can attest to the fact that it's not easy working in Japan, right?
Yeah, that's for sure. I had one guy who didn't know how to put a bill in. He sent me a picture of it. I couldn't read it. It was all Japanese. So
Yeah.
that was a little frustrating, but I'm still talking to them, and they've gone to a couple meetings, two guys, two different areas, but they haven't done anything. It's no different in here, where you get a guy signed up who doesn't go to a meeting and he doesn't do anything. It has you argue with them or you work with them to try to get them to put a bill in, and they're just like there as they are here. What's nice about it is they are still talking to me, so hopefully they do go to the meeting on the 24th, which was yesterday. So it'd have been a day and a half ago now in Japan, to see if they went to that and meet Jerry Thompson, Jr.
Yeah.
So I was hoping that they would do that, but we'll see. I did that on social media at night instead of watching TV. I was doing a lot of LinkedIn. That's how I did that. So hopefully you get one or two going, and from a distance it pays off. I didn't want to travel there, but
Yeah.
open
Right.
dream to maybe go there one day, right?
Well, the thing is like what Larry knows, and I know most of you, I mean, unless you're blind to the fact, but it's not easy to grow a business that's not, where you don't know people. And so, I mean, you could go over to Japan and hit a hot streak and get somebody in that, builds a massive business, but you better be willing to get on an airplane and go over there and work with them. And so the same thing happens in Canada. Don't, unless you really know a lot of people there, and then dig into your team. I think if you remember, Sherelle mentioned that when they launched Japan, she basically went to everybody on her team and said, "Who do you know who knows somebody in Japan? And can you set up a meeting with us?" And then she actually made a trip to Japan, and basically it's just went all in with Japan, and I think she has a lot of success over there. So that being said, build in your backyard, think local, build local, but think global. And Justin asked if I'm going to be going to New Jersey anytime soon. Yes, I am, but I don't know when. Let me unmute Justin here. Why? What do you got going on in New Jersey there, Justin?
I was just trying to see if we can get together anytime if you'd be out here this way. So.
Yeah, I'm going to be out there. I don't know when, but it's going to happen. I got to figure all that out. We got a pretty big travel schedule coming up. For those of you who don't know, I'm moving to Florida in January. But it's so I'm going to be going down there in 2 weeks to look for a house and get settled in, and then we'll be going back and forth. And I know I have a trip to Philadelphia coming up, and I always go to Cape May every year in July, but that's not anytime soon. But you always have my support if you need me out there through Zoom and stuff like that. So let me just unmute him real quick. So tell me how's things going? Where are you plugging into, Justin?
We have the BP in King of Prussia, which is about 20 minutes from Philly.
Yeah.
That's Thursday nights. So.
How far is that from you?
An hour.
I might be able to meet you there.
Okay.
Okay. Maybe I'll come out to that meeting. What day is that? Thursday or Wednesday?
Thursday nights at 7.
Right.
So yeah, give me heads up, and I'll let everybody know. And
who's running it? Who's doing that meeting?
Jerry Cousins.
Any good?
Or Adam Jaskowitz. I don't know if you know him. No.
Yeah. I've heard of Jerry Cousins. So.
Yeah.
Yep. All right. Yeah, we'll see. We can get plugged in. In fact, King of Prussia is real close to my wife's family. So.
Okay.
All right. Any other questions out there about anything else? I'd like to welcome Vernita Warfield. I'm gonna unmute your line, Vernita. Hey, Vernita, how you doing?
Well, how are you?
Good. So Vernita's a brand new consultant out of the Cleveland area. She's under John Caldwell. And why don't you just tell us a little bit about yourself, Vernita?
I own a wellness center in the Cleveland area. Have 3 boys, all in college. My husband's a police officer, so we stay pretty busy.
Now, when you took a look at AMBA, what did you like best about it? What stuck out to you?
I really like the fact that you just specialize in gas and electricity. And, it's not like a whole lot of other stuff, because a lot of companies, a couple other companies that I've been approached with, they have their hands in a whole lot of different things. So it's hard to really get people going in some systems.
Yeah, right.
So I found this is very, very good.
Now, when are you going to start your own meeting?
I tried last week.
Did you? You can use us anytime. And what I will tell you is this, is whenever I first got started in Ambit, we had a very similar situation to what you're dealing with in Cleveland. So, basically they launched the state of Pennsylvania. A lot of people came in from New York, from Buffalo, Westfield, and Kim and Jim Mason, and people like that would drive into Pittsburgh, and they would do our meeting for us, but then they were gone. And they'd be gone for a week or 2 weeks, and then they would come back, and they'd be gone for a week or 2 weeks, and they would come back. So Christina and I, my wife, had to basically, do what you're doing. We had to figure it out. We had to start our own meeting. And here's what I did. Basically, I kept it really simple, and I played a video. All right, so I'd get a bunch of people in a room, and I would basically just push play on the video that you have your hands on. And I don't care if it was 2 people or there was 32 people, it was the same exact, procedure. And then at the end, I would say, do you have any questions? And if they had a question, I would try to call somebody on the phone and, basically get them, get their questions answered. Does that make sense?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. And then also tomorrow night at 7:30, we'll be doing a Zoom meeting. And you're more than welcome to join in just like this, and we'll do the whole presentation. So, all right.
Okay. Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah. I hate to put you on the spot like that, but I had to.
That's all right.
Well, as you can see, that's the nature of these team meetings. They're personal, and we want to make sure that if you guys have any suggestions or comments, that you can just hit me up with an email. papower526@gmail is my email address. If there's people you want to hear on the call, let me know. We'll do our best to get them on. And the last thing I want to go over is, because I got about 3 more minutes and I'm going to let you guys go, is about tomorrow night. Okay, so tomorrow night, 7:30, we do have a BP. And the idea of these BPs is for you all to be doing in-homes or having a few people together to tap into it. It'll be, we're going to do them all the time. And like I said, I'm moving and I don't want to lose contact with our core team. And so the more we can do these in-homes, the better. I know Larry's is plugging in. Both the Larrys are plugging in. Cheryl's on there. And so, you can get on there too, Vernita. And I know Lisa Shriver can get on that as well. But, and John and his team. So all of you can do it. And then what I will tell you is I want you to treat it like a real live meeting. And so, I'm going to change some things up because, this is like the wild, wild west, right? We don't know. We've never done it before. And so we're kind of learning as we go. And in a normal meeting, we have housekeeping rules, silence your phone, hold your questions to the end. And I didn't think about doing anything like that because it's a live meeting, but we're going to add that in because, what people need to know is that we can see you and you can see us. All right. So everybody can see everybody. So this is no different than being in a hotel or, any type of live meeting. So we'll just make sure that when we're on, that we, keep it like that. And if you're losing interest in the meeting, then log out. Or if your people are, or just, turn the camera. I know I've talked to some of you off camera about that. But it's no big deal. I mean, we're all learning. And I think it's going to be a pretty powerful tool for all of us to be using. Hopefully you're getting value out of this. So, or else I wouldn't be doing it. And honestly, I'm not worried about low numbers because this is the core. Right now we have 3, 6, 9 of you on. You're the 9 smartest people on my entire team because you're plugged in. And we have over 1,600 consultants. So there ought to be at least 100 people on here tonight. But they just haven't found out about it. So make sure you tell your team that, hey guys, you should really plug into this because Marc's adding value, Christina's adding value to us, and I don't know who's going to be on next week. I got a few irons in the fire, but I will tell you this: it's going to be something good. Let me see if I got any texts coming in here. I did. So I have a few people who are on the hook, and we'll see who we can get. So a lot of people said they want to join us on Zoom. I may switch once we move. We may switch Wednesday to Tuesday night, just so we can get more people on, because a lot of people have meetings in church and stuff like that. So with that being said, I'm going to unmute everybody here real quick. And does anybody have any other questions? If not,
real quick.
All right, we got a question. Go ahead.
Okay, sorry. We talked about it a couple weeks ago on the site Bella Sera. If I can get, and I think Larry did it, like, you know, advertising on a Craigslist or LinkedIn, so I can get, you know, a couple people, so I can get moved up, you know, quickly and see what they can do.
Yeah, good question. Hold on one second. Okay, so what we were talking about is you know, ways of drumming up some business, and this is something you guys can all do and all use. It's Craigslist. So what a lot of teams will do is I'll pay for an ad on Craigslist, and it was funny because I was 100% against it myself. Fact is, I've only done it once or twice, or so. I think I paid for 1 month one time, and I was really against it because it's not the way we teach, it's not the way we train. And so I started looking at Craigslist, and I would kind of fish around, and I found ads in Ohio. I found ads in Japan. I found ads all over, and some of them were really good, and some of them were terrible. And and so what I did was I decided to do a litmus test, basically, and see, you know, does it work and would it work? And so what I did was I put an ad on Craigslist about a year ago. And it was real simple. It just said, you know, we're expanding our, it was $1 billion company expanding into this area, whichever area it was. I think I did one in Boston, one in Ohio, one in Pittsburgh. $1 billion company expanding into your area. We're looking for people who are entrepreneurial, think outside of the box, you know, basically kind of outline what we're looking for in an ambit consultant. And I said, for a appointment, email me. Okay, and I got about 16 emails off of that ad. And then this is where I tested it. So I went and I literally, for 15 people, I sent them the link to my Energy Gold Rush site. Okay, now this is me testing whether ambit system works or doesn't work. 16 people, out of 16, 15 people got my link. I could watch them watch the video, and I never heard from them ever again. Okay. And then number 16, I said, no, I've had enough of this, you know, because I spent $150 or whatever to run these ads. And I said, I've had enough of this. And so the last guy texted or emailed me, says, yeah, send me your link. I said, no, I'm not going to send you a link. I said, I need to have an appointment with you over the phone. I got him on the phone. I set up an appointment. I had him push play on 2 videos. I brought in a 3-way closer. I brought in a closing call. It happened to be Steve Thompson. Steve talked to the guy, and the guy joined the business, triggered a bonus, plugged into our local meeting, and so it was a success. And but here's what I'll tell you is, if you're going to do it, it's not you got to treat it like a regular invitation. Right? There's nothing wrong with it. You know, it's perfectly acceptable by ambit. That happens all the time, but you never want to give up too much information. Don't put your website in the ad. Don't put ambit energy in the ad. I just kept it really vague. All right, just keep it as $1 billion company expanding into your area, looking for some qualified individuals, people who are money motivated, entrepreneurial. You know, and just if you're going to do that and you're willing to spend the money, do it. I had a guy on my team who took out billboards and a radio ad. I asked him not to do it. I said, it's never going to work. He did it anyway, and it actually increased my business, and his didn't grow at all. And it was funny because I kept getting people who I had shown the business to who would call me up and they wanted to join. And I said, what makes you want to join? He's like, man, this thing's legit. I was driving down the highway and I saw a billboard. And I called this guy, Steve. I was like, hey, Steve, thank you very much for your investment in that billboard, because I just got another 2 consultants out of it. So if you guys want to do a radio ad, by all means, go for it. If you want to hire out a billboard, go for it. But it may not work for you, but it worked great for me. So, and I didn't have to spend a dime on it. So I don't know if that answers your question. Does that answer your question, Ryan, about the?
Write something and maybe you can take a look at it.
Yeah, definitely. So you can write something up and then send it over to me, and I'll take a look at it. Has anybody else ever thought about doing stuff like that? By show of hands out there. Mm.
Because I thought Larry did something on LinkedIn or something.
So, Larry, tell me about how you do LinkedIn. You got any secrets?
Well, no, not really. I just had my information on LinkedIn, and I just spend time in the evening instead of watching TV, just meeting people on LinkedIn. When I heard about going to Japan at that time, I think I had about 250 people on my LinkedIn that I could talk to, and I just started at the top or search, put in the word Japan, try to film people in Japan. And so once you find a few, then the next thing you know, after a while, they see you from other people's sites and they ask to join your site, kind of like Facebook. And what I find out is, there's a lot of people there, 86 million people over there. How many are on LinkedIn? I don't know. Every other day or so, I look for a couple more. In the beginning there, I was going for, there was a couple, I don't know, a couple hundred or so that I've talked to, get two. So it was a lot of, and it's really just like talking to them a little bit, seeing what they're up to, and looking, keep my ear open for how they're doing in the business. Maybe their business is slow and they're looking for something, or if I see something on LinkedIn that says looking for an opportunity, and I'll just connect with them. And I'm connecting not with just Japan, but literally around the world, even in like Australia and Canada, because, we're not in Australia now, but we may be one day, right?
Yeah.
And so, what's nice about that is you can build them up and now they're in your database, so to speak. And I'm talking with people all around the United States that never heard of Ambit. And I just don't throw them websites and stuff. I get to know them and talk to them a little bit, see if they'll, first of all, if they'll even talk back and carry on a conversation. And what I found out with a lot of people in Japan, they won't even respond back. Like they come on your site and they won't even say hello to you. And you just got to move on to the next one. But, I'm talking to a guy in Albuquerque, New Mexico. We kind of, every now and then we talk. And like at one point he was asking what I was doing and I shared a website. He's really interested. He's wondering how he would be able to get some customers. And, so you just never know where it's going to go. Obviously we're going to be in other states. So it's like it's global, right? That's a global site. So over time, I don't expect anything in a hurry. But I literally had both of them people from Japan ready to sign up before they were even able to. And so, which was really interesting because I knew I had two ready to go. And then I'm thinking, will they actually sign up? You don't know. And will they do anything? It's no different than here. But think about it. Each one could be the next person that really blows the business up, and you just got to keep working it. We do so much wasted time, right? How much TV do we watch? I come home, I got my wife watches Granny and they're watching Family Feud. I mean, I can't watch more than 5 minutes of that. I'm sorry. And they episode after episode. I'll sit there in the room with them, but I'm on LinkedIn. I mean, I'm not even paying attention to what's going on except when Steve Harvey cracks a joke. But
yeah,
about it.
I watched the highlight reels. So, by the way, I think let's talk real quick about Power Trip before I let you guys off here. We got Power Trip coming up. Now, Larry, do you have any tickets available?
I do have a ticket, maybe two. So if anybody wants to go, I can get them a ticket.
All right, let me unmute John. John, do you think you may have anybody interested in going to Power Trip?
Yes, Vernita's interested in going to Power Trip.
Oh, man, that would be good. So look at that.
If her schedule permits and her husband lets her out of town.
Okay. All right, so Vernita, text me your if you want to go. I'll get a hold of Larry. Okay, cool.
Let me know. I'll get you a good deal. I don't want to get stuck with a ticket.
That's right. You don't want to get stuck with a ticket. It's better to have somebody there than nobody at all. So.
All right.
All right, cool. All right, so let me just talk to you real quick about Power Trip. Power Trip's coming up, next weekend? All right, so not this weekend, but next weekend. It is going to be in Scranton, Pennsylvania. If you've never been to Power Trip, you need to go. It's a game changer. It changed my whole Ambit career, basically. I was asked by Kim Mason. I asked Kim Mason, who's one of my uplines. She's right behind me here in this picture. Right there is a lady in the yellow jacket. Right there's Kim. And I asked Kim, I said, what can I do to be as successful as you and Jim are in Ambit? And she said, you need to go to Power Trip. I said, where's that at? I said, sure, sign me up. And then I said, where's that at? She goes, Dallas. I said, Dallas? I said, I don't make any money in this business. Why am I going to go all the way to Dallas? And she said, you need to be there. And she said, you asked me the question. I gave you the answer, and that's what you need to do. If you want to be a success, you got to get there. I said, I don't have the money to go. I don't have the time to go. And she said, figure it out. And if you really want to be successful, you'll be there. All the successful people are there. So I said, okay. And I remember calling my sponsor up, and I said, hey, can you do me a favor? He goes, what's that? I said, can you book an airline ticket for me and you to go to a power trip? And can I be your roommate? And he's like, you going to pay me back for this thing? And I said, yeah, eventually, you know. And I said, but you will, according to Kim, it's going to, you know, you'll be making a lot of money if I go to this thing. And so he did it. And it was definitely the game changer that I needed in this business, to see that it was real, and to meet some of the top leadership. And I tell you what, the stories that come out of this event are powerful. And it's funny because it's one of those things that where while you're going through it, first of all, you'll be fatigued because it's nonstop. I mean, if you really do it right, you're going to be up late and you're going to be up early, and you're going to be networking the whole time. And so a lot of times when you're actually going through it, you don't realize what you're getting out of it. And then so over time, as you go back home and you start to kind of decompress from the event, and then you start to go into life, it all starts to make sense to you. And then you realize, you know, how powerful that trip really is. No play on words. So, and the last guy I'm going to unmute real quick is Justin Steger, because Justin, you mentioned Craigslist. So have you had any success at all?
No success. I know Jason Milliken does a lot of it too, but they seem to all just flutter out. You know, they don't answer you. They don't show up to BPs, things like that. And I think you're right. Like I said, there's no relationship there, so just kind of easy for them to ignore you.
Yeah, and if you, like I said, if you're going to do it, you want to treat it like a business. You know, you don't want to put too much information out there. You're basically setting up a job interview for somebody, and you got to treat it like that. You know, they have to come, and I tell you what's cool about it is you can actually demand more. Basically, you know, if I'm going to bring you onto this thing, I need you to do these certain things. I've had people, you know, send me their resume before I'll even give them, show them the business. So. It's definitely.
I was posting it for customers, and I didn't get any responses.
Yeah, well, that's not easy. It's not easy. One thing I will tell you about is if you can find a way to add value to someone, then getting a customer is easy. Okay, so if you can find a way to add value to somebody, if you have anything that you can do for them, then to come back and ask them for the bill is actually really easy. And I'm going to tell you what, I had a guy. This is a funny story. But I had a guy actually do something for me. He added value into my life. I had been in an accident in Columbus not too long ago, and I needed some body work done. The guy did a terrible job. I called my friend up who works with body shops. He actually came out. He was my advocate on the case. He did all this stuff for me. And at the end of the day, I said, Aaron, I don't think I could ever pay you what you're worth and what you did for me. I said, but what I can do is I can reduce your energy bill because I know you're paying too much. And he's like, oh, you can really do that for me? I said, absolutely, I can do that for you. And I said, send me over a picture of your bill. I'll do a free evaluation for you, and I'll make sure that you're not getting taken advantage of. And he became my customer. My niece, same thing. You know, she's at college right now, and we were together, and she's like, Uncle Mark, she goes, my electric bill's through the roof. I have to, I split it with these 4 girls. I don't know what's going on. I was like, Emily, just send me a copy of your bill. I'll do a free evaluation for you. I'll see what's going on. Turned out her roommate picked Green Mountain Energy. She was paying 7.7 cents a kilowatt. And I said, so you're paying about $18 to $20 just too much because you picked the wrong company. I said, we have a guaranteed savings. I said, if you don't mind, I'm going to go ahead and get you switched. She just emailed me tonight and said, switch it. And so that's a great way to get a customer is to add value to somebody. If you do something for someone, you know, like for example, when I was in Tiramisu, I had a guy that wanted to start his own nutritional bar company, and he asked me if I would help him. I spent an hour and a half on the phone with this guy. I walked him literally from conception of his product all the way to the grocery store shelf. At the end of the call, I said, hey, can you do me a favor? And he said, sure. I said, I need to show you a business tomorrow at 7 a.m. Can you call me? He said, yes. I got him on the phone, showed him the business. He joined. And that's it. So I mean, you add value, and that's how you're going to grow your business. So, all right, guys, I'm going to get off now. It's 10:39. We'll see you tomorrow at 7:30, And thanks for everybody for coming on. Hopefully you got value out of tonight. So bye-bye. I'm going to unmute everybody here. All right, bye-bye.